welcome back to another video. And as you can see, all the livestock are in. Now the weanlings here, you might have remembered my previous video whenever it was out, that the weanlings here were over this side, but when we brought the cattle in, we decided to put the cows and calves this side so that the calves couldn't get out through that creep gate there. So we thought this side here would be better for the weanlings at this moment in time. This is the cow and calf. The calf that was not feeling 100%. He's now looking way better. We were feeding him the tubs of natural yogurt and his swelling has gone down quite a lot. For those who was asking, he had some sort of blockage in him. He was either just like full of gas, constipated or something, or he ate something out in the fields and it just got caught in his gut or stomach or something like that. But he's working the way he's supposed to be, 100%. He's making dung, he's sucking the cow, he's doing what a calf should be doing. And the cows and calves are there as well. And these are the two heifers. Now in today's video, obviously there's a bit of silage to be thrown to them, so I will do that. Now I'll put the camera down and I'll do that. But also, once I throw them the silage, we have another job to do, which is obviously the main focus of this video. And I'll get to that after I throw the silage to them. So let's throw the silage to them first, and then I will explain while showing you what we're going to be doing in this video. That's them fed. When I came down first, I was kind of surprised how much silage was left, because usually there's usually way more silage left under their heads the following morning than there was this morning. But in all fairness to them, it was early yesterday when we put a bale in. It was still during daylight hours, but I didn't have the camera with me to record anything, so I didn't record anything. But I will eventually record a bale being put in and split and all that. But yeah, it was early during the day. It was about 4 o'clock during the daylight hours. So they had a bit more time. They had that extra 2 or 3 hours more time to eat the silage than they would have, because usually we'd only have time to put in a bale at around 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's obviously dark. But yesterday we got a bale put in earlier than usual. So yeah, they had that extra couple of hours to eat it, and then eat it overnight and all that. So yeah, that's why there was less silage on the ground this morning than what there would usually be. And this is what the video is going to be about. We have our very own apple tree. It's a very old apple tree. So that apple tree was there when I was a young child. So yeah, there's it usually grows apples. Obviously, it still grows them after being a very old apple tree. But some of these apples you can eat. They're all right to eat, but they tend to fall on the ground way more easier than a younger apple tree, which probably have more of a grip and a hold on the apples than this one, because even the lightest of breezes that comes, the apples will fall to the ground. So I think all the apples here on the ground are past human consumption. So what we do is we do come with a bucket or a wheelbarrow, and we do pick them up, and then we do chop them into small pieces or mulch them with a machine I'm going to show you now in a minute, which there's apples scattered everywhere. And what we'll do is just we'll pick them up, sort of chop them up, and then give them to the cows. And this is what we're going to use to mulch up the apples. It's a pulper, as you can see. It's a Hector #1 Philip Pierce and Co. Wexford is the company that makes it. It is a very old company. They were founded in the early 1800s, I think in the 1820s. They grew popularity then in the late 1800s, and the business then ceased to exist in 2002, so they had a fair good run at it. So what you do is that we'll pour the apples into this sort of mesh here, into that. They'll go down at the bottom. I'll get a torch and show you in a minute. They go down there, you twist the handle, and then they come out the bottom here, all sort of chopped up or mulched, and they go into this wooden box. That's the inside of it. You just pour the apples in there, they fall in there. You can see that there's sort of an edge there, or little bits of metal sticking out. They're the edges. They're around most of it. It's not just one. You have another edge there, and you have another one coming up. So all you do is you put the apples in there, you turn the handle, which then turns the plate. Your little edges then chop up the apples or mulch up the apples, and then they fall out through the chute here into the wooden box, which then we throw into a bucket and then feed to the cattle. So enough talking, I'll set up the camera somewhere and we'll get to pulping the apples. Alright, that's the ground more or less cleaned up. There's a couple of apples there on the ground that the snails and slugs got to, so I'll leave them for the slugs and snails, or they can just rot away. There's a few really bad ones in there. There's no really point feeding them because they're all mushy and not for the light-hearted, so I'd probably move away from that topic now. But anyways, that's how much we got in the wheelbarrow. It's not as much as I thought. I thought there was a lot of apples lying down there covering the ground, but no, that's all we got, and that might do a couple of days feeding. Actually, that could be 2, 3, possibly even 4 days at a stretch of feeding the apples to the cattle. So yeah, it's not a bad trailer full. So yeah, we'll go ahead now and we'll head over to the corn crusher and see how we get on mulching them up.
He
Right, that's the that bucket full. That's the wheelbarrow emptied as well. Whatever was left in the wheelbarrow now is in this bucket. So we're only going to get 2 days feeding of apples for the cows. I think in this bucket, what is it? It's 1 full bucket and a half. So 1.5 buckets to fill this with the mulched apples, or the crushed apples. And there's not going to be much apples to be mulched or crushed for tomorrow's feeding. So we have a lid here to cover it up, keep them as fresh as possible until tomorrow morning, 24 hours. Anyways, we have it done. Farming is a good workout, I guess. So yeah. Anyways, I'll put this away somewhere probably in there, and we'll go and throw this to the cows. And there they are, the mulched or crushed apples given to them, all fed and happy. Hopefully now they'll clean the floor of the apples for when the fresh bale goes in this evening. But you can see how well it's crushed them. Turned them basically into mulch, really. So yeah. It's an old tool, but still works. There's no school like old school or ancient school, as that probably would be classified as. But you know, you could get one of the modern crushers or mulchers, put your corn or apples or spuds into it, or beetroot or whatever, and it might be connected to a PTO or some sort of motor and do it itself. But you know, I'm not a shy individual to hard work, and turning that around it's not it gets tiring after a while, but it still does the job. You don't need to be going splashing the cash all out with the fancy equipment. If you have old equipment on the farm that still works and still does the job, you can see clearly that you know, there's still a place on the farmyard for them. But anyways, yeah, they seem to be eating away. All the heads are out. The calves aren't bothered, which is good, because I don't think, well, you know, I don't know. I think them being fed to the cows is better than the calves eating them. But the calves are showing no interest in the apples whatsoever. But you can see that all the cows' heads are out and down, and they're eating away at it. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to leave them at it for a few minutes. I'll come back and check, and hopefully they'll have the floor cleaned. Well, they must be full because a lot of them are lying down. They have the floor fairly cleaned. There's feck all resemblance of any chopped apples on the ground at all, so they've done a fairly good job at cleaning up the ground. Well, when it comes to the cows, whether you give them meal, spuds, apples, beetroot, whatever, they usually clean up their trough or the ground fairly well. When it comes to the weanlings, if you give them meal they'll clean up the ground. But if you give them apples and the likes of that, they mightn't be too keen on eating them like the cows are, which is why we give all that sort of stuff to the cows. But yeah, they have the ground cleaned. I'll probably scatter that silage around a bit more, and then maybe later on in the day a bale will have to be put in. So yeah. Anyways, I'll catch up with you again sometime tomorrow morning to chop up the last bit of apples and feed it to them. It's the next day, and this bale, it's the next day, and this bale was put in yesterday evening during the day, or during daylight hours. I thought a bale would actually do them the day, but it's not actually doing them the day, which is a surprise. So what I'll do now is, whatever silage is there, I'll just scrape it out evenly among all of them, and then well, a bale is just going to have to be put in later today, isn't it? Which is another one, a bull in there. Yeah, we were hoping anyways that a bale would actually do them a day, so if we put a bale in the morning, we'd have to put another one in the next morning, or if we put a bale in during the evening time, maybe around 5 or 6 o'clock, we won't have to put another bale in until the evening again, around 5, 6 or 7 o'clock. But yeah, they're eating through the silage like there's no tomorrow. So yeah, anyways, I'll put the camera down, set it up somewhere, and we'll get the silage scraped out to them. That's them fed. The bit of silage that was mainly piled up there. There was just a big lump of silage piled up there. I have that sort of evenly distributed-ish around the shed. So yeah, we'll wait a couple of hours, see how they clean the floor. We still have to pulp some apples for the cows here. We have about half a bucket left, maybe 3/4 of a bucket left, so we'll leave them a couple of hours before we give them the apples. We'll see what of the silage they clear first, and then we'll go pulp some apples and just give them the rest of that bucket down on the ground, and they should clean them up as well. But yeah, a bale probably will need to be put in today again, but it'll probably be a bit on during the day, maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock, until they have all the silage cleared up and the floor cleaned. We might throw in a bale then. But yeah, it's always good to give them whatever silage is there first, we find anyways, because if we put a fresh bale in on top of that old stuff there that was already on the ground, they won't bother their heads eating the older stuff. Well, the Wainlands here won't, and probably them heifers might be a bit fussy as well. They'll be eating more of the fresher stuff, like the fresh bale that's gone in, rather than the stuff that was put in yesterday. Now the cows will probably eat the stuff that was yesterday's silage, but they'll eat the fresh bale first before they even go near the older stuff. So we find it's better that if we throw whatever silage is there in front of them, let them eat it up and clean the floor, and then put in the fresh bale. It's just better, because they're eating more silage that way. We're making them eat the silage, and then they're eating more silage, and you know, it's a bit expensive making silage these days when you have to pay for contractors and wrap and all that. So yeah, even though we have plenty of silage bales to do us the winter, even if we didn't do a silage next year, we probably still have enough to do us this year and next year. So yeah, we have plenty. We've more than enough, more than I think we've ever had that I can think of. So yeah, anyways, I'll leave them there a couple of hours, see how they clean the floor, and we'll go pulp some apples for them then. Okay, I think I left them there about 2 or 3 hours. They have most of it eaten. There's some bad bits in that, because that bale wasn't the best. I think that's our first fairly bad bale of silage we put in this year since the cattle were housed. So yeah, we're expecting a lot more bad bales, because when you look out them, there's a few of them with puncture holes, because we have 2 cats on the farm, and they're starting to grow that fungi or that mushroom looking thing on them. So there'll be a few good bales, but yet, as always, there'll be a few bad bales as well in there. And unfortunately, we've hit our first bad bale of silage. But look, they'll eat what they eat. The bits that they don't eat will be put in the box and brought over for dung. So, you know, it's still a win-win, I guess. But I think we'll go now and pulp some apples for them and give it to them.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set the rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again.
There we go, not as much as yesterday, obviously. That's about half a bucket there of pulped apples, or mulched apples, whatever you want to call it. So we'll go ahead now and throw it to the cows.
Life lessons come 1 in a dozen. The other 11 get something from nothing. I sit here looking for an answer. Maybe the biggest question was in the last chapter. You gave me the soul I have today. Without you I never could have moved away. But now I see what you teach. I do believe I always should have stayed. Yeah. Is this really happening?
There we go. They have their apples. That's the last pulped apples they're going to get, because every year around August, September time, that apple tree that you seen at the start of the video always grows apples around that time, and a lot of them at around this time, October, November time, do tend to fall on the ground, and then it gets past human consumption. So we just picked them up. Some years you'll get more apples than others. That's just how it goes. But hopefully they enjoyed their 2-day treat of pulped apples. Hopefully they're nice and sweet and juicy for them. And looking at them now, there's not a lot of them with their heads out eating the apples. There's one there. There's another one back there. She has her head out, but she's not eating any. You can see that there's loads of apples there with none of them sort of paying any attention to them. And yesterday when I put them out first, the whole lot of them, I think there's 6 cows and 6 calves in there. So the 6 cows, every single one of them had their heads out and the heads down on the ground, scooping up the apples there. But today, a bit different. 2 are there not having a bother at the apples, another one there, 2 more at the back. There's only 2 out of the 6 that's actually eating them, which is a bit surprising. But you know, you might get that. They mightn't, because they were left in the bucket overnight, they mightn't be as nice as the ones that we pulped yesterday. I don't know. This one here is eating the silage but not the apples. But look, it doesn't really matter. You have 3 of them here now. Well, there's plenty of apples there. There wasn't, as I mentioned, there wasn't as much as yesterday's, but there wasn't as many. Maybe I pulped too much apples yesterday. I probably should have judged it so that I had a similar amount for the 2 days. But look, it is what it is. But that is going to be the end of today's video. If you liked it, please do give me a like and don't forget to subscribe. Check out the merch, my merch, and the gate mate. The links to them will be down in the description. And that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Take care.